Every beginning must have an end. It's crazy to think how we first met these characters 7 years ago on June 16, 2019, and since then we've gotten many moments where we laughed, we've cried, we've been frustrated with some of the behind the scenes drama, and at one point we thought that we would never see the show again. But today we finally say goodbye to one of the most polarizing shows on television forever. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving deep into the series finale, episode 8 of Euphoria season 3. This hour-and-a-half finale threw a lot at us, and truthfully, some of it worked, and honestly, some of it didn't. But that's what we're here to do, and that's break it all down from the deeper meanings of all of the important scenes, breaking down the important themes, and so much more. Full spoilers ahead. Now, back to Rue. She's now with the real architect of her current troubles, and that being Alamo. He goes through the stolen bag from Lori's safe, and everything Lori took from him is there. He looks at Rue with a smile and tells her that she did a good job and that he's proud of her, building this sense of hope inside of Rue. And here is where Alamo's game of manipulation takes complete control. He sits Rue down and takes a Percocet and offers one to her for her pain. Now, despite having stolen his stuff back from Lori, he tells Rue that their truce and their deal is still on the table and set to be completed by the end of the night. Now, Alamo gives Rue a week off, telling her that she's the employee of the month, and he hands her over a bag of cash, which he says is a token of his appreciation. But then this is where the devil offers the forbidden fruit. Now, he leaves Rue with a bottle of what Rue thinks are the painkillers he just took for her pain. This is the ultimate sinister false hope. Alamo is getting into Rue's mind as he remembers what Maddy told her about Rue and the DEA, and this is a move that is all a part of him getting back at her. What he just told Rue wasn't a reward, it was just a deadly trap. Giving an addict money and pills while praising them for their work is the most insidious form of control, as he's taking complete advantage of Rue's vulnerability. Rue thinks she's earned a moment of peace, but in reality, this would lead to the end of her life. After getting her stitches, we catch up with Rue, who's now at Ali's house, and they talk about the nature of evil and it being inherent in people. Those comments by Ali will have a major effect throughout the rest of this episode, as we see Rue's going to stay the night at his house. Now, as Rue is laying down on the couch, she looks at her hand and she goes in her bag and takes out the painkillers that Alamo gave her as she listens to her Bible. Now, I want to pose this question to you all in regards to how you read this scene. Was Rue truly in pain in this moment and only wanted to take the pills for her pain? Or do you all think that she kind of gave in to her battle against addiction and she wanted to take the pills to both relieve her pain, but also numb herself to sleep like she used to do back when she would really struggle with her addiction? For me personally, I would like to think that Rue was just trying to relieve herself of the pain, but regardless, this decision that she's about to make will end up being the last one that she makes because it ends up killing her. But now, here is where the episode gets incredibly heavy, and I'll be honest, this is where I got super emotional. Now, back at Ali's, it's morning time and Rue wakes up, or so we think, as she sees a news report about Fez escaping prison while using parkour. For a minute, y'all, the show got me because I actually thought that this was actually happening, because why not? It's Euphoria. Of course Fez is going to break out of prison using parkour. Now, Rue remembering her promise to Fez about picking him up if he ever got out as she's about to leave to go get him. We see Ali cannot stop her from leaving as he spots that she has taken the pills from the bottle. Again, y'all, in this moment, I was thinking to myself, God damn it, Rue, she's high again, she's not thinking clearly, her mind is just spiraling out of control. But what follows is a incredibly vivid yet ultimately tragic journey into the afterlife for our girl, Rue. Rue is convinced that she knows what Fez is as she drives like a maniac through the streets, revisiting old places from season 1 and season 2. We even get flashes of seeing a younger version of Rue and even the first time she saw Jules. We get this flashback, which I'm assuming is a deleted scene from season 1 and 2, as we see Rue and Fez in the middle of a yard just hanging out, having a good time. And I'm not gonna lie, this is where my glasses start to get a little foggy. We see Rue ultimately running from the police as they are chasing her through her old neighborhood as she's heading straight to her house. Rue makes it home wearing her old dad's hoodie, which is a very potent detail. She sits in her room for a second and walks through the familiar halls before finding her mother in the living room reading the Bible. Her mom reaches out to her and she reaches back as they hug and embrace each other, and it quickly switches to her hugging her dad as this is being cut between her still on Ali's couch, and this is where the moment hit me like a brick. This was Rue seeing the light. Her revisiting all the moments and people who meant something to her. In this moment of comfort, we cut back to Ali's couch. Again, this entire frantic, hopeful chase for Fez, this imagined homecoming was all in Rue's mind. A cruel yet beautiful and utterly heartbreaking hallucination. The moment in which we cut to her on Ali's couch as she's embracing both her mom and her dad, it's a moment of profound peace and love for Rue one last time. After seasons of falling in love with Rue and being frustrated with Rue and everything in between, it's here in this quiet, intimate moment that the devastating truth unfolds. What we are witnessing is Rue experiencing an overdose as she slowly and tragically is dying. And just like that, Rue is finally free. No more running, no more chasing that high. Rue is dead. Man, I know this will be the talk of the episode, and rightfully so, and I can see maybe people blaming Maddy for accidentally telling Alamo about the DEA situation last week, and I know a lot of people are going to point to many different moments of how Rue got to this point, but the truth is, Rue was never going to get a happy ending because of her choices. Look, man, I know this show isn't for everyone because it can be messy. It is definitely provocative. There's full of drama attached to it. And I can go on, but this show, to me, has earned Rue's death. Not only has the prior seasons led to this moment, but this entire season was about her seeking God's guidance and seeking redemption. Even the very first scene of this season, we saw her tiptoeing around with death. And in a moment of weakness, death finally found her. Man, that entire sequence just had me in tears. I'm not going to lie, y'all. Like, from Fez's escape to them in the field with Rue, the peaceful embrace of her parents. I know Sam Levinson sometimes writes himself in a corner and sometimes he writes some complete nonsense. But I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like Sam was thinking about Angus Cloud and his untimely passing within this scene. To me, this scene painted the picture of the character Fez, who in Rue's mind before she died was him finding his way out. He found his second chance, if you will, only for it to be a phantom hope in Rue's dying moments. Again, to me, this feels like Sam Levinson in this hypothetical narrative is grappling with the cruel reality of addiction and how, for some, that second chance, that escape, never materializes. Look, man, again, I know this is going to be a very hot topic of this show and its finale, and I know for some people, I can imagine the message doesn't necessarily sit well for them, and I respect that because the battle and experiences of addiction looks completely different for everyone. But for me, with my experience with people that I know that's gone through addiction, I found this to be a brutal reminder that life doesn't always offer a redo for some of those people that suffer through this disease and suffer through addiction, unfortunately. I can speak for hours about the beauty and the tragedy of this scene, and particularly Zendaya's performance. Oh my goodness, man, what a great performance. But I'll just end this section by saying this. 3 seasons of pure excellence by Zendaya as Rue, and again, throughout all her ups and downs, throughout the show and throughout this season, Rue will go down in my eyes as one of the most iconic and memorable and tragic and complex characters that I've ever seen on television, and man, her death will definitely be sticking with me for a while. Now, back to the scene, Ali eventually wakes up and his worst nightmare is realized as he tries to wake Rue up only to find her dead on his couch. Man, talk about another great performance by Coleman Domingo. If I wasn't already emotional, Ali's reaction to finding Rue just completely broke me as we watch him praying for her and he asks for God to help her find peace as he kisses her head and he says his final goodbye. Ali will go on to add Rue's name to his book of the dead. But Ali's journey of grief immediately turns to a quest of understanding and ultimately vengeance. He takes the drugs that Alamo gave Rue and tested and sees that they were laced with fentanyl, the very thing that got her roped into Alamo from the very beginning of the show. At the end of the day, I've been calling Alamo a devil all season long, and he, on purpose, gave her a death sentence knowing her addiction would take over, and he killed Rue. Ali, the man who dedicated his life to helping others find sobriety, the man who promised to keep Rue safe, now has to make the most agonizing call as we see him telling Leslie, Rue's mom, that her daughter is gone. It's a call that no parent should ever receive, and it's a call that no friend should ever have to make. Now, months pass by since Rue's death as we see Ali at his last NA meeting sharing what he just experienced. He talks about empathy for people struggling with addiction, but also how he feels that the dealers who are knowingly selling poison to the kids, for them, he has no empathy because they're just simply evil. In an incredibly powerful monologue, Ali admits he's lost his faith.
Christian, Muslim. Suddenly, I found myself not believing in shit.
He's had his first drink in a long time because of the weight of Rue's death and the countless others that are just crushing him. He speaks with an almost righteous anger about the insidious distribution of fentanyl, which is the silent killer preying on vulnerable lives. Again, he tells everyone that this is his last meeting as he's tired of losing the kids to bad people and tired of this cycle. Ali is determined to find another way to be of service as we cut to him at his home modifying his shotgun. The message is clear. Ali is preparing to take revenge for Rue. His path is shifted from this spiritual guidance to a darker, more earthly form of justice. Now, I want to backtrack a bit because I have to admit I do have some issues in regards to the handling of Rue's death scenes. One thing that comes to mind is, and I know I haven't spoken about this in weeks now, but I got to bring it up here. Labyrinth's score was sorely missed in her death scene because I can only imagine that moment would have been amplified, would have been more emotionally satisfying if we would have had his incredible score in that scene. Secondly, I kept thinking, why didn't we get a funeral scene for Rue? We could have got her mom, obviously Gia could have returned, obviously all of her close friends could have been there to mourn the loss of the most important character of the show. But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized the hard truth of the situation again, which is the brutal reality of addiction. Sometimes, as harsh as it may be, life just goes on. It's cold and unforgiving to those left behind. It's an uncompromising look at the consequences of addiction, and it's only amplified by the heartbreaking truth of what Angus Cloud went through with his own battle. It reminds us that for every glimmer of hope, there's always the very real and very dark possibility of some not making it to the other side of addiction. And that's exactly what we witness in the back half of this finale. We end this finale with Ali, who goes back to using his real name or his original name, which is Martin, as he's now at the homestead to meet the family and to see the most peaceful place that Rue spoke of. Now, the family is upset to hear the news about what happened to Rue as they invite Martin inside. Inside, we see the table is set for dinner, and we notice that there is an empty chair where Rue should be sitting. As Martin prays over the food, we see this beautiful cinematography that leans into the heavenly golden hour as Ali looks at the end of the table, and here I'm thinking I was done with my thug tears for the episode, but no. I forgot to mention earlier he said that he was here because of his daughter. But here we see Martin sees Rue peacefully smiling back at him as the camera pans outside. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of season 3 of Euphoria and also the end of the show in its entirety. Look, man, my thoughts about the finale, besides the issues that I talked about earlier in my breakdown, I thought that this was a satisfying, emotional ending to this conclusion of the story. The standout moments being the opening, Rue's death, and Ali's revenge at the club. Those to me were like standout moments and maybe some of the best moments of this entire series. Now, if you all are watching this on YouTube, if you all can do me a favor, I would greatly appreciate it if you all can hit the like button. And if you're watching this on your computer, on your phone, or I believe even on your television, when you hit the like button, there's a hype button which allows this video to get in front of new viewers. Which, speaking of viewers, if you all can share this video, hit the share button, man. Share this to anyone and everyone you know that either loves or hate this show or is indifferent about the show. I'd appreciate that share. But more importantly, share your thoughts in the comments, man. Like, this is why I make these videos. I want to interact with you all. I might not get to every comment, but you best believe I try to read as many as I can because I do appreciate you all's feedback and your thoughts. So in the comments now, let me know your thoughts on the finale, what worked, what didn't work. Let me know your thoughts about the entirety of this season, and also what will be your lasting memory? What will be the legacy of Euphoria in your eyes? Let's talk about that in the comments. And last but not least, this might be the end of this journey, But we got so much more to cover with movies and shows, so please consider sticking around by subscribing to the channel today. Put in the comments right now, hashtag RIP Rue. We're going to miss this character again. Zendaya, Coleman Domingo, the whole entire cast and crew. Thank you for these past 7 years, the ups and the downs. But again, this may be the end of this particular chapter, but please stick around with what I have coming up soon with more weekly TV breakdowns. Right now, we're covering Widow's Bay. I'll of course, be covering all the new movies coming out. So definitely, like I said, stick around and check out all that content. Again, y'all, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you all. Don't forget, you all are awesome. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next breakdown.